Hey, sixth graders, Mrs. Zimmerman. Today I've got another math lesson for you on ordering fractions, decimals, and percents. So, you know we have been doing so much work converting them back and forth from each other, comparing them, seeing which one's bigger, which one's smaller. Today is going to be another video on how to order them from least to greatest. So you want to go from smallest to biggest. And if you remember the last video that you watched, I told you that the best way to order fractions, decimals, and percents is to turn them all into decimals. And then it's so much easier to compare. Okay? So I have 3/10, 15%, 0 and 2/10, 3/8, and 0 and 9/100. And I'm going to turn all of these into decimals. And to make it easy on myself, I'm just going to do it right underneath. Okay, so when you're working, the best way would just be to write these all out on your piece of paper and then write down underneath what they are in decimal form. So I have 3/10. If I can say it, I can write it. 3/10 is the same thing as 3/10. It looks just like that. Okay, 15%, well, percent to decimal, please don't lie. So we're going to go left 2 places, 1, 2. So I end up with 0 and 15/100. My next one is 0 and 2/10. So I keep that one the same because it's already a decimal. What about 3/8? Doesn't end in a 10. The denominator is not a 10 or 100 or 1,000. So if I can't turn that into 3/8 into a decimal by itself, we just divide. Numerator on the inside, denominator on the outside. 8 doesn't go into 3, so we have to add a decimal and a 0. How many times does 8 go into 30? 3 times. That's going to be 24. I'm going to subtract and get 6. Bring my decimal up. Drop a 0. 8 goes into 60, how many times? 7. That's going to be, oh, running out of room. 56, I'm going to subtract and get, I'm going to come over here, 4. And so then I drop my other 0. And how many times does 8 go into 40? 5 times. And that's going to work out perfectly. So 3/8 as a decimal is 0 and 375 thousandths. Okay? 1 sec, I'm going to grab an eraser. I'm going to rewrite my decimal. And then 0 and 9/100 is already a decimal, so I don't have to do anything with that either. Okay, now I've got all my decimals, and you're looking at these like, okay, that's great, but how do I know which one's bigger, which one's smaller? We're going to line them up vertically. Line up the decimals so one is right on top of the other. So I'm going to start with 0 and 3/10. 0 and 15/100. 0 and 2/10. 0 and 375 thousandths. And 0 and 9/100. Now, the best thing for me to do is to fill the empty spots with zeros, because then I can compare them a lot easier. So I'm just going to erase that so I have a little bit more room. Okay, so I have a number in the tens place. So let's look at the hundredths place. I need a 0 here. I need a 0 here. And they're all filled in. What about the thousandths place? Only this one has one there. So I have to add zeros in all of these empty spaces. Now I can look at these numbers and say, smallest to biggest. Which one's going to be smallest? 150, right? So that's going to be my number 1. Oh, no, I missed one. Oh, Mrs. Zimmerman, look at this. This is 150. This is 90, right? 1 or 0, what's going to be smaller? The 0. So I need to change this. That bottom one's going to be my number 1. This one here is going to be the next biggest. And then what? 200, 300, and 375. 200 is going to be the next smallest, so that's third. And then 300, that's fourth. And then 375 is going to be fifth. So let me move out of the way here. You can see I've got all my decimals lined up and I've got them numbered, smallest to biggest. So what I have to do, my final answer, I have to write these from least to greatest using the original format, okay? So my number 1 was 0 and 9/100ths, okay? That originally was a decimal. So I'm gonna put 0 and 9/100ths, okay? What's my number 2? 0 and 15/100ths. That was 15% originally. So the next thing I'm gonna do is write 15%. My third spot is 0 and 2/10ths, which was originally a decimal anyways. So I'm just gonna write 0 and 2/10ths. And then I'm to my fourth spot, 0 and 3/10ths, which I can see right here was a fraction. And then last, my biggest one was 0 and 375 thousandths. So originally that was 3/8. So 3/8 is my biggest number out of all of these. So that I'm going to put 3/8 at the end. That whole big long thing, whew, that right there is the answer to ordering these fractions and decimals and percents, okay? I know that might just be so overwhelming, but if you watch this video again, take notes while you're watching it, and this will become so much clearer to you the more that you practice, okay? Good luck.